Welcome everyone to our paper, Paraphrase Types Elicit Prompt Engineering Capabilities. My name is Jan, and this is joint work with Terry and Billa from University of Göttingen in Germany and Jan from University of Toronto. As you may know, that LLMs nowadays need some degree of prompt engineering to be successful in different tasks. So if we have a certain task, we may need to wiggle around the prompt a bit to see how the model performs and then choose the prompt that works best. And this is not new. This is prompt engineering. Every one of us has done it, at least to some degree, when using chat models to perform various things. But one thing we've found striking in recent works was when we used LLMs, it was not only what we said, but also the way how we said it. So slight variations in the vocabulary use could make a quite substantial difference. So we can make the test together. Let's take the first example, in which the task is to generate a headline for an article. And if we use a prompt slightly different to that by introducing another word, concise, and switching up article for paper, we can see the model performing quite substantially better. So just by saying be concise and it's a paper, not an article, the model is better, which to us humans doesn't really make sense because the underlying meaning is identical and it's just a few lexicon changes performed between these two prompts. Another case in which we might say, oh yeah, this is actually quite a substantial change is the second example, but here more changes have occurred. The first one says, how does the author feel in this text, which is quite vague, and being more precise by introducing the three categories it can classify into, positive, negative, or neutral, makes this prompt in that sense more precise. But we wanted to know in the first case, why is it that these different linguistic changes, this flexibility in expression, but just changing a few words and meaning the same thing, affect these models so much? And what we did in this study is we chose 24 different task families, for example, sentiment analysis or title generation or text summarization. So a wide array of NLP downstream tasks. For each task, we have 5 datasets to capture some variance. So we have a total of 120 datasets. And then we choose 6 different families of paraphrase types. So changes between two prompts that do not change the semantic meaning, but change the wording of that prompt. So for example, we look at lexicon changes, like in the first example, we exchange words for their synonyms. We also look at syntax changes, so we reorder the sentence structure, and we look at these 6 categories of discourse, morphology, extremes, and lexicosyntactic changes. And we do that for 5 different models, which are Mixtral, Gemma, Llama, 70B, and 8B, and Command R+. And the main findings we had was that there's quite some substantial changes in how these models react, although we just change the way these prompts are expressed. So we don't change the meaning, we just change the way they are presented, so to speak, the mode of presentation of these prompts. And we can see that there can be performance gains of up to 13.4% in tasks on average, so over 5 tasks, when adjusting the prompts in these aspects. And we also found something interesting, that when you paraphrase the prompt, you can have more upside potential than downside. Sometimes when you change the prompt in a certain syntactic or lexical way, you can also get a worse performance of the model. It's not guaranteed that the model will perform better, of course, but in general, we've seen slightly more upside than downside, which gives us hope that one can change these prompts and optimize them to be better. And we've also done this on a task perspective, so different tasks may benefit from different changes. For example, in vocabulary intensive tasks like named entity recognition, we see lexical changes having a bigger influence, or in sentiment tasks, a polarity change or a negation change can have a bigger impact on the model performance. And of course, these changes may come with certain additional factors that we might need to control for. So we thought, okay, what if we change the prompt, but by changing the prompt, it just became closer to some prompt we've seen in the training example. So here we indexed the large fine web corpus, the 350 billion token corpus, with a BM25 index to search, okay, is the original prompt somewhat more distant from the closest example in that training set, as opposed to the adjusted prompt, the paraphrase prompt that we had changed. And it turns out that we had no concrete evidence that there is a trend of being more closely to the training data. So by adjusting the prompts, it's not that we just have found a new prompt that is closer to training. There might be something else going on there. Another thing we wanted to control for is how much are we changing the prompt complexity. So maybe in our changes, the prompt is also getting much longer or much shorter, and models have a better or worse time with longer or shorter prompts. So we also control for the overall length of the prompt, the word position, and the lexical shift of these prompts. And again, we've not found concrete evidence that these factors are the leading factors influencing that. In fact, we've seen that over a wide array of prompt length, from very short to quite long prompts, these findings still hold some truth. So it seems that it is the lexicon we have used, it is the syntax that we have changed, or the morphology that we have changed, that influence things over the length and lexical shift we have observed. And of course, these models are not deterministic in a way. I mean, you can set the temperature of LLMs to 0 to get a very deterministic way, but that has some other caveats. So what we wanted to do here in the last control experiment is to control for some randomness. So we ran these prompts with different temperatures and looked at whether the paraphrase prompt was still performing better with different temperature settings. So we did that for varying degrees between 0 and 1 of temperature setting. And again, we did not find concrete evidence that would reveal it is the randomness that plays the main role here. It is actually the manipulation, the change we've had done to the prompt that causes this change. So yeah, thank you for listening. This work is also supported by 2 grants of the Lower Saxony Ministry of Science and Culture and the Volkswagen Foundation. Also thanks to Andreas Stephan and Lars Keesbeck, who have thoughtfully reviewed this paper and discussed it with us. Yeah, you can find this paper online. It's already on arXiv. You can also find it in the proceedings soon. And if you want to reach out to us, here are 2 contact emails of the corresponding authors. Thank you, and looking forward to talk to you about this project.